Let's take a look at the top 5 most controversial moments on the Joe Rogan Podcast. Our first video has Steven Crowder arguing with Joe about the death count related to drug driving in the USA.
And that's
we
what a lot
already
of people
proved you're
pointed
full of shit about Colorado and traffic deaths. Should we go and fuck you up with this too?
Yeah. When you have your guy looking
You
up
feel
sources.
bad about the Colorado thing at all?
What? I never said Colorado. I said states that legalize marijuana.
What other
I've seen
ones
it.
are there?
Well, you didn't bring up the source that I wrote about.
I can.
But the
eat
fact that
up
you're
if
still
you
hung
want.
up on it.
Hold please. What?
I got the article. I've been looking at it for like the last few minutes on your website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple statements that are really bad just off the gate, like this right here. If you want to get high, you're a moron.
Well,
And getting high will make you more of a moron.
That's not a
But
news
hold on.
article.
Right.
Hold on, please.
That's commentary.
But, hold on. But fine. After all, things like Coachella wouldn't exist. Is this your article?
Yeah.
I think it's an article on my site.
Oh, wait a minute. If you want to get high, you're a moron?
Yeah, I think
You
Courtney
really
believes
think
that,
you're
yeah.
a moron?
I think
If you
Courtney
get
believes
high?
that, yeah.
Who's Courtney?
She's
she works
probably
for
one
you?
of the best writers I think I've ever encountered.
How dare you not read then?
But so then the article links to a couple, like this, for instance, is one that says it has deadliest year of traffic fatalities since 2008.
Yeah.
This article doesn't say anything about marijuana, not one thing. Doesn't mention weed at once. It does say that it could be attributed to
Could be
lower gas
weather.
prices, people driving more,
It
more
does.
people in the state,
Sure.
et cetera,
Yeah.
et cetera.
Well,
But
more
that's not,
people in
first
the
off,
state.
that's not the only thing. Hold on a
is
second.
a
No,
huge
this is
issue.
important. I'm going to defend myself here. Because you have someone here at the ready, and what you do is, instead of bringing up information, this is what happens with Christopher Titus, right? You don't have information that you bring up. You have another guy look up a source that you specifically want him to find.
I didn't ask him to bring that up.
Yes,
He just
you
brought
did.
it
And he
up.
brought up Washington Post and goes, this is what's wrong with your article, taking a
No,
joke
he
out
had
of
already been
context.
talking. You didn't have a joke.
The joke in there about things like Coachella wouldn't exist if there weren't...
Okay,
that's clearly
her
a joke.
in that article.
That's a joke.
Right, but-
to try and go, do you think people who smoke pot are morons? No, it's a joke.
Okay.
Let's not do that. Let's not do that.
Well, and no, pot's not comparable to alcohol. There are tests that determine how much alcohol
Right.
content is in your bloodstream. We can't yet do that with weed, so it's impossible to handle these incidents in the same way.
That's
but
pretty
there
fair.
but there have been tests where they showed people
But that
drunk,
would go back to what he said and what
but
you
there
said.
have been tests where they've shown people drunk versus on marijuana, and the people on marijuana drove far better.
Okay.
That's true.
So this...
You're going to be really good at this argument
No,
here.
no, I'm
You
not.
need to settle down.
You said you wouldn't pile on, and you got two people.
I'm not
A rule-
piling
yeah,
down. He's
yeah,
not
it is.
talking.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
He's
it
not
is.
talking. He
Actually,
brought
I have
something
a rule
up.
when someone
He brought
comes on
up
the show.
facts.
When someone comes on the show, Jared cannot interject.
Congratulations, you're not
Cannot
on the show.
interject.
And all he did was pull up
No,
some
no,
fucking
two
information.
people bringing up information, me without a laptop.
No, he brought it
After
up.
I,
I
said,
talked
no, I'm not
about
gonna
it.
stop
He didn't even
After I
talk
said-
about it.
You said, what would be the one thing that you've changed your mind on that
Is
you
there
would
a
look
problem
back?
when two people are correct and you're incorrect? Does that bother you?
I don't agree that you're correct.
What are you talking about? You just pulled up some statistics that show that Colorado has less traffic fatalities.
No, I didn't.
Since
I didn't pull up
2000
any statistics.
No, he did.
You
saw
just said
them.
you. You just
Okay,
said
well,
you.
I will
So,
give
no,
you
that's
my
not
laptop.
correct.
I'll turn my laptop
That's
your
not
way,
correct.
and you can pull up some shit that shows contrary
You said,
evidence.
what is the issue that you would care about the least, that you've changed your mind? And I said, probably wouldn't even talk about pot.
That's a long version of what you said.
And
what
then you said, well, why?
was there have been more fatalities since marijuana has been legal in those
In
states.
all the things we've discussed.
It's not true.
Why are you so obsessed with the pot issue?
Because you're not right, and it doesn't matter if we've talked about it for 4
So
hours. In this instance,
yeah.
you are incorrect. You know you're
no,
incorrect.
I'm not incorrect in that instance. That traffic fatalities have increased in areas where pot have increased. We did the same study in Michigan where pot was legalized and people were actually
Wait a minute,
selling more
when-
marijuana to underage kids. I don't care
Okay,
if they
that
do
doesn't
it.
have anything to do with traffic
It does
fatalities.
have to do with it.
It doesn't have anything to do with traffic fatalities unless you can prove there's more traffic fatalities in underage kids since marijuana has been legal.
Yeah, there have been several articles that have made that claim, made that assertion.
Let's find
We've
them.
written about it.
Let's find them.
They all come from one article mostly, and it's from these AAA stats. And this is the stats that they said. And it's almost all the articles you're talking about come from this one article.
Okay.
Okay, so it says the percentage of drivers involved in fatal crashes who recently used marijuana more than doubled from 8 to 17% from 2013 to 2014.
Yeah.
1 in 6 drivers involved in fatal crashes from 2014 had recently used marijuana, which is the most recent data available. Now, do you
The
understand that
significant increase in
causation
fatal
does not
crashes
equal
involving marijuana
correlation?
is alarming.
Yeah, it says who?
That's an opinion.
But you've
You
already
can't
been
test
proven.
for marijuana.
You've already been
You
proven.
can't test for marijuana roadside, right? Can we agree on
No,
that?
you absolutely can.
You
yeah,
can?
there's new tests. Yes,
Okay, there's new tests.
that are
How
available
recent
right
are these
now.
tests?
Let's find
2014?
out. Let's
Yeah.
find out. Before you do
But
that,
they
though,
didn't test, like you said.
How many of the marijuana-related fatalities also involved alcohol? Because it's a massively significant percentage.
Yeah.
So you can't necessarily say that just because they have these new tests for marijuana, especially roadside marijuana.
That's the problem, is you can't. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll give you that.
What are you giving me?
Let's say you're correct.
But here's the thing.
So let's say you're correct.
Physiologically, it doesn't have an effect on motor skills the way alcohol does, or it doesn't slow down your response time.
Well, I know
It's
that
not the same.
we've had several doctors on the show, 2 of whom had differing opinions on that.
They don't have to be right.
They don't have to be right.
Opinions of it. Do they
have
smoke
opinions.
marijuana themselves? Do they know what it's like?
Now we're getting to this whole
have they
if you haven't
studied
smoked
all the
marijuana.
different CBS News caught blatantly distorting cannabis studies says
This
legal
comes
pot
from-
doubles fatal
This
car
comes
crashes.
from Mint Press News. So again, we can go into questioning sources all day long if you have someone else bringing up
You don't
sources.
think this is a good source? You think
Maybe
they're
it
lying?
is. Maybe it is. Let's say you're
Not
right.
with Crowder, but
Let's say you're right. Well, a lot of Crowder, we source that to something else.
I know. And
You
I
guys are
look up
so
your
defensive
sources.
on one issue, and you said,
Hold
what's
on.
the issue you don't care
I
about?
have your
Pot.
sources right here. I've looked them up. There's people online also sourcing them. They are skewed. You're skewing them to make
And
your
so is the
case.
Washington Post study that you skewed.
But you're not the Washington Post. You're supposed to be the answer to the Washington Post.
I'm not the answer to the Washington
You're not,
Post.
Don't
We're
say that
op-ed.
someone's evil, so I'm evil too.
Well, you just said that.
Is that what you're saying?
That's the argument that you just made.
No, I didn't make
You
that
did
argument.
make that
You just said, come on,
You
man.
just made that argument, and all of a sudden, when someone mentions pot, you
When-
put on
when
the
you're
ideologue
saying
hat
this-
where
what-
your worldview
what
is
is
through the
that?
lens of weed.
No, dude.
And you get upset
I'm
with anyone
calling
having
you
a
out
different
on
opinion.
bullshit. It has nothing to do with weed.
Yeah, but you haven't
I
made
would
an
call
argument.
I haven't made an argument. You said
You've
that
said
the
your studies are
fatalities
sourced.
increased. We showed you what
We
happened in
wrote about it.
Colorado.
What have you shown me?
We showed you the statistics that
Okay.
show that marijuana and traffic violations they
May
correlates
not be,
to less
may not be causal.
accidents.
Right? Your
May
argument
not
is
be
it may not be caused.
Okay, so what else is causing
Okay.
the dropped number? And why can't
what's
you
causing
show
the increase in number?
What increase? This fake increase
From
that
fake,
you're
we're
bringing
doing
up?
fake news?
It's
Is that
not
what we're doing?
real. It's not real. Colorado
So-
shows it's not real.
Let's
So
not-
where is it real?
Well, this comes from his AAA study that was AAA and Trustee Safety Council.
AAA is owned by the Bilderberg Group,
Oh,
bro.
God.
You don't even know this.
So now we're going to go to weed cures cancer and people having meetings with ram's heads.
You've got one article that says one thing and one
Joe.
article from Colorado that says there's been a decrease in traffic fatalities.
Right.
You're not willing to recognize that.
I just said, let's give that to you. Because this entire conversation started with you saying, what issue would you change your mind on?
No,
and I
it
said,
started,
probably pot. Because here's
no,
what I
this
think.
argument started with you saying that it causes more fatalities and traffic violations.
that's not true. That's not true. You said, which issue do you not care about?
Did
I
he
said
say that?
pot.
Did
and
he
then you
say
said
it causes
why.
more
You said
traffic
why.
fatalities?
What's your opinion on pot? And I said, I really don't care if people want to smoke pot. I think it's a state issue. I honestly don't care. I've changed my mind where as a kid I thought it was harmful. I don't think it's harmful
But
anymore.
didn't you say that it causes
And then you
more
said-
traffic fatalities?
Then you said, well, let's expand on this. What issue do you have with pot? I said, I don't like the dishonesty where people just say it cures cancer, it'll end the war on drugs, it's completely harmless, and I have some arguments
It's
that
not
it's not
harmless?
entirely. No, it's not entirely harmless.
Well, it's
not
not-
without consequences.
Well, consequences
and
based
I've given
on
you
what?
so much leeway there on
But
that one.
how have you? How have you?
It
Consequences
literally
based on
started
what?
from me saying I probably couldn't care less about this.
In our second video, Eddie Bravo is seen in a heated debate with Joe and Jamie about his belief that the world is flat.
Out some sadness, but just in general, it's history, science, education, energy. Everything has always been controlled by the government since day one. Radio has been used as propaganda since the day it was invented. You think some independent dude just invented radio and then he started broadcasting like his favorite music and shit and his thoughts? No, it was the government from day one in radio. It was the government in all countries from day one in TV, in the movies. It was all radio, TV, and the movies
Do you
have
remember?
always been about propaganda. Always in every country. It's nothing new. It's old school gangsters. Our country is the most
What does this have
gangster.
to do with? What does this have to do with the world being?
No,
flat?
this is how gangster our government is. There was a war on drugs. We started a war on drugs. Turns out we're bringing it in. Then there's a war on terrorism. Turns out we created Al Qaeda. You understand why I'm crazy? Kids.
Look, this is you could go over these different
That looks
sections
so fake.
of the earth.
That looks
yeah,
so
well, you can
fake.
look at the next one that comes 10 minutes later, and maybe you won't think that one's fake. Like, oh wow, that one's kind of
It
real.
looks all fake.
It doesn't look fake.
fake.
To me, it looks like what the fucking Earth probably looks like when you're 22,000 miles away.
To you, it does, not to me.
But
This is NASA's. By
It's
the
no
way.
big deal.
Oh, so NASA
can
has
we
one
agree
too.
to disagree?
yeah, but why think that it does?
All the science.
Because I don't trust
Why,
shit.
why think that
I don't trust
the
shit.
government does make these fake pictures of the Earth? Don't you think that would be
You
like
know,
a
we could
risky
speculate.
thing?
You want to speculate? I mean, I could speculate.
I want
don't
to hear
know.
you speculate.
It's easier to control people when they're on a ball.
I've been trying to tell people that forever.
I don't know.
But, like, we got to live on a ball. I told it to my wife. I said, it'd be easy to get the kids to listen if we just lived on a ball.
Lived
Fuck
on a
this
ball.
house bullshit.
If you look into the experiments to prove that the Earth is spinning, all of them failed. Look into it.
What do you
You could just think that. We've been indoctrinated into thinking
that's
that.
not true. That's not true.
Okay, I'm crazy. I get it.
Eddie, Jamie, what you gonna say?
I don't have the science in my head to back it up either, but that's not true. You can't say things like that. That's what Eric Dubé says, and he's not backing it up.
Where's the evidence that? Find the evidence.
There are 13-year-old kids in
moving.
high school right now that can show you the evidence with
Well, what is it?
scientific.
How come you can't show it to me?
Because I'm not in class right now,
Well,
and I'm not up to date. I'm doing JRE work right now.
Okay, you're talking about some shit you don't know about.
Camera.
You're
No,
talking about some
but
shit you
so
don't know
are
about.
you. But you're saying
I'm just saying I don't
something-
trust it.
You're saying something that people have been proving for hundreds and hundreds of
Look
years.
into the Michelson-Morley experiments. That was Einstein said it himself. Einstein said to this day, Einstein said it.
Don't
There is
bring
no
him into
proof
this.
that we're moving. Do you guys just haven't looked into it? That's all it is.
You're
You
watching
guys haven't
YouTube
looked into
videos,
it.
Eddie. There's a difference between looking into it and watching YouTube videos.
So let's say
can-
this. Okay, so
do you
what
watch
if? What
them
if it's
all from
true?
the same
okay,
channel?
Okay, what if it's true that Albert Einstein said there is no evidence that the Earth is spinning? What if he says he said a quote? You say that's not true. I saw it on YouTube. But what if we find out that it is true? Then what?
What if they find out leprechauns are really butt fucking
Exactly.
genies
That's
on the
what I
moon?
thought. That's what I
What does
thought.
that mean? So this thing that you keep repeating is bullshit.
Okay.
And this thing that you keep, but don't, no.
Hey,
'cause
where did you get this information?
Jamie?
Where'd you get it?
Where'd I get what?
This information. Where is this coming from?
This is coming off the internet.
Exactly. So
What is
you're
American
reading
Journal-
some information. I'm reading some information
Slow down,
off
slow
the
down,
internet.
slow
You
down.
didn't go to the
Slow
library.
down, slow
It's
down.
on Wikipedia.
Eddie.
Just slow down.
Eddie, stop
There's
doing that.
sources here. There's a book called the American Journal of Science. I'm sure that a lot of
Which
people
is
respect that.
bought and paid for.
Well, maybe.
It is. It's
But
bought and paid
why-
for it. It's
but
part of that.
Here's the thing, Eddie.
It's
why?
like the Washington Post.
Eddie, why would anybody be paying money for people to lie about the world spinning?
That's a very good question that everybody asks coming in. Everybody asks
Coming
that
into the group,
Yeah,
have a
people
seat,
get-
have
people
some
get
coffee.
knocked down
My name's Eddie, and I
one
believe
by
the Earth's
one. They're
flat.
getting knocked
Hi,
down.
Eddie.
All you gotta do is look
Eddie,
into
they're
it.
not. They're
Yeah.
not. They're
It's
not.
huge.
They're
Flat
not
Earth
getting
is
knocked
huge.
down. That's why we just read this thing that you've been citing, and you didn't even understand it when we were reading it.
You read
That's
off
how-
the internet.
But that's
you
how
read off the internet.
complicated.
Where the
I
fuck
read
am
it
I
off the
supposed to
internet
read it?
too. I read it off
I
the
don't have
internet
any
too.
books here. I'll
no,
go
no,
find the
exactly.
encyclopedia if
no,
you
we're
want
both reading
and
off the
print off-
internet. We're both getting our information off the internet.
So you're
Eddie,
saying
one
who's
of
right?
them is peer-reviewed journals from
From
scientists.
American Journal of Science. Come
The
on,
internet
that's
is
like
also
NIST.
data
That's NIST.
and
That's like
Eddie, stop.
that's like the
Articles.
Economist.
So you think it's more likely that everyone is in on it and lying than it is one guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about and he makes a YouTube video and you get convinced. And it's attractive to you because it seems like it would be an amazing conspiracy to be ahead of. And you get trapped in the fucking rabbit hole and you go down the flat earth rabbit hole and you find yourself defending things with experiments that you don't even understand, which means you haven't
just
really
read
looked
some
into
shit
it.
that he pulled up off the internet,
But
and
I know that you don't
and
understand
you're like
it.
all over it.
I know you didn't understand
No,
it.
I
'cause he
understand
had
it now. It
explained
doesn't
to you
matter.
twice.
It doesn't matter.
But I understood it, and he had explained it to you twice. You didn't understand it. You were arguing
No,
for it.
no. This is the proof. Now I understand it. There was an experiment to prove that the Earth wasn't moving,
And it was not repeatable.
and then they proved it. But it
No.
But
No, they didn't
what
prove it.
No.
They didn't.
I get. They didn't prove it, but
Right.
that doesn't mean that it's spinning.
Shit.
Problem.
No, but Eddie, you know I don't trust shit.
I'm having fun
you
with
know
it.
I don't.
It doesn't matter if it's flat or round. It doesn't matter. I'm having fun with it.
Fallback. You keep saying that. It's a bad fallback because what we're saying is there are conspiracies. The problem is when you think everything is conspiracy, you act as a psyop guy and you fuck people over that want to look at real conspiracies. Because the real
That's
conspiracy
what I
is like
thought too.
the Gulf
That's
of
what I thought too.
Tonkin. Oh,
That's what I thought too.
okay. Like the Gulf of Tonkin, real like Operation Northwoods, real things that really happened. When you look at those things and people explore them, they go, "Oh, I don't think they really killed Kennedy." Are you sure? Why don't you look at this? Look at this stuff. There's a lot of really crazy evidence. When you start thinking that the world is flat, the dinosaurs aren't real, all this nutty shit that you believe, and you just jump into it with, the problem is it discredits all these other things that you believe that might be real. Because the other things have some validity to them.
You just haven't looked into it. That's all.
Eddie.
I used to say the same
Eddie,
stuff.
you're talking about the
I
Earth being
said this-
flat.
I'm
Thousands of
saying the
scientists
same
have
thing.
looked into it. You think they're all wrong? That's so insane.
You haven't looked into it.
I have.
No, you have.
Oh my God. How could I not have? You don't think I have? I'm watching you go down the rabbit hole. You don't think I've tried to pay attention to what the fuck these people are talking about? It doesn't work.
I don't think so.
Eddie, there's websites dedicated to debunking it. There's dedicated to showing you the science,
On the
showing
internet.
you the math that you can do.
How come when you check the internet, it's valid, but when I'm on the internet, it's not?
You're not talking about the internet. You're talking about a guy's YouTube video.
No, it's not. Guys, there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of people.
Okay. But they're just YouTube videos.
It's huge.
Eddie.
No.
The science behind them
It's huge.
is not verified by peer-reviewed journals. The science of the Earth and gravity.
The government science that's bought and paid for, of course. You start talking about
Eddie,
flat
this is
Earth
so
and the science.
crazy.
You just
You
haven't
think
looked
the Earth
into
is
it.
flat?
I didn't say that. I said I don't know if it's flat or round. When I see a picture of Earth from space, what we're sitting on from space, when I see a real picture, then we'll have the proof. I'm just saying we don't even have proof that it's round.
No, we're looking at pictures while we're sitting here. Okay, you're not even taking into consideration the fact that this is a monitor. That you're looking at this, you don't even get like the high resolution. I mean, they must be gigantic files that they get. You would never be able to see them in their actual resolution on a regular monitor in the first place. You're talking about a photo of the Earth.
Next, we have Candace Owens on the Joe Rogan Podcast sharing her thoughts and beliefs about how climate change isn't real.
It's like, no, like we've been losing. America has been losing. And Donald Trump understood that in a way that I didn't. And
You
I
don't
thought,
think we have to care about the environment? Like, what do you,
no, not even a little bit. Like,
not even a little bit?
no. Okay, let me clarify this. I don't throw trash on the ground. Like, I'm
Okay.
not saying like we need to like, trash the environment. Like, but do I believe in climate change? No.
You don't believe in climate change?
Well, I think the climate always changes, I guess is what I should say. Do I believe that this is like, an issue that is being, that is global warming, which they've changed conveniently. They got rid of the word once scientists started disproving it. Now they only say climate change. No, I think that was just a way to extract dollars from Americans. I don't at all believe. They had no actionable plan. It was great for Trump to get out of that deal. It was terrible.
Okay, but this is an incredibly complicated subject.
Right.
And if you would have to talk to a bunch of different scientists
Right.
and see how they gather data and see what they understand about CO2 levels and what's the danger of them
Right.
and what can combat it and what could not. Have you done all this, or
No,
do you
so I
take
think-
this flippant opinion
No,
based
listen,
on the party line?
This wouldn't be the hill I died on, right? But it's not about the party. I just genuinely, I've read a ton about it, but
What
I
have
would
you
not be
read?
able to. I would not be able to come to you and say like, this is my strong opinion. But here's like the easiest way to say this, right?
Okay.
The fact that there is a disparity in the science community about whether or not it's real is enough to.
Very little.
Yep.
Very little disparity. Most scientists, the vast majority agree that human beings are negatively affecting climate change.
Yeah.
The vast majority.
Yeah. I just don't think so.
So you think that the very few scientists that disagree with the
Yeah.
consensus are the ones that are correct?
Well, I think if something is. It's either subjective or it's objective, and there are objective truths, right? But it's subjective if you're saying that there are some, and I don't think there's very little. There are some that don't get paid to go on TV. There's some that are not Bill Nye, who are not funded scientists, and that has been a whole.
Well, Bill Nye's not a scientist.
I know.
He's not. He's
I know, it broke my heart when I found out.
Science
Mouthpiece.
propagandist.
Yeah, that's the point.
He's
And
no, that's not a good word.
I don't think Al
mean
Gore is a
propaganda in negative-
scientist.
He's not.
Right.
But Bill Nye is like a science influencer or
Right.
a science entertainer.
yeah, he's like a.
But he doesn't have a
like-
background in actual science. He's not a scientist. He
Right.
doesn't have a PhD. He's got an
I learned about him in
undergraduate-
school. Like, everything I did
Yeah.
in science had to do with Bill Nye.
Well,
the
he
science guy.
promotes science, and
Right.
science is not bad.
Yeah.
But the real problem is with climate change is that, for sure, there has been ups and downs throughout the history of this planet. They're observable. They follow them in. I mean, it was one of the subjects that I had earlier today with Dr. Robert Schock. In 2014, the vast majority, 87% of scientists, said that human activity is driving global warming, yet only half the American public ascribe to that view. So
Well, what website is
87%, and this is,
Scientific American.
yeah.
this? Yeah, .com though. Like, 'cause that means it's making money. I don't trust that. If it was a .org, I would probably take that. But this is just a random website, and
Well,
I don't trust.
Scientific American is not necessarily a random website. It's,
Yeah, I don't believe this like at all. Just so you know.
You don't believe it at all?
I genuinely don't believe it. I know you do, but I genuinely don't believe it.
I
Like,
know the Earth has gone through cycles of cooling and warming.
Right.
The question is, are we exacerbating that? The vast majority of scientists say we are.
Okay.
Now, this could negatively impact all sorts of coastal cities. This could be a gigantic problem. This is not like propaganda that's drummed up by some sort of big business that seeks to make money off of this, or some sort of a
Well, they were making money off
organization.
of it.
Al Gore might have made some money off
No,
of
but
it.
like
but who's making money
the
off
agreement
of
that
it?
we were in, they were that was like the amount of money that America was losing. But here's what I was going to ask you. So let's just
Wait a minute, the amount of money America was losing? Who is
in
America?
the Paris Agreement. This is the reason why we
Okay.
wanted to get out of
The
the Paris
Agreement
Agreement.
is-
But that's what I wanted to get to.
there's
So let's say we all
arguments about
agree
the
that
Paris
global
Agreement.
warming is real. I don't believe it's real. Okay, so I can't
But
sit
why?
here.
But
I
here's the
can't.
question.
I can't.
But why have a belief?
What do you mean?
Why have a belief as to whether or not global warming is real or not real?
Because
If
I
you
just-
don't
I
have
just
a
find that
background
when
in
things-
it, you don't
you're
understand the
correct.
science.
You are correct.
But why have a belief in it?
Right. So it's not a belief. It's not a belief in it. I don't believe in it. I
But
know
that's
it's
what I'm
not a
saying.
belief.
But you have a belief that it doesn't exist.
Right. I personally think that this was just the fact that it was presented to us by Al Gore, and it's just
It's not presented to us just by Al Gore.
Right.
Al Gore made a film,
Right.
and he's been called like the first green billionaire. 'Cause
Yeah.
He's made a shitload of money off of that.
and he flies in his private plane because he's so worried about the emissions. Okay.
That is hilarious.
Yeah,
there's something hilarious about that.
all
but,
of the people that are
but
telling
he's
us.
a fucking politician.
Right.
You know, there's grossness to all that stuff.
Right. Obviously, a lot of debate here, and as I said, like I'm not so. The one thing you always find with me is I'll never pretend to be so educated on something. Like I'm not going on college campuses talking about global warming. I don't do that.
Right, but why are you saying that you don't think it exists?
I don't know. Maybe because it got
Here
so.
it is.
Maybe
Studies-
because it got so politicized.
Studies into scientific agreement on human-caused global warming, and look at all the studies. It's between 100% and 91% at the lowest. 91% of one of the studies from 2014.
This is the Union of Concerned Scientists.
Yeah, they almost. It's a pretty broad
Right.
consensus.
Who are they polling? Is it the people that are a
Scientists?
part of this
It's a good question.
.org? That's what I'm asking. That just numbers can be
10,306 scientists to confirm over 97% of climate scientists agree, and over 97% of the scientific articles find that global warming is real and largely caused by humans. So my question to you is, if you want to step outside of the scientific consensus,
Right.
which is vast and involves 10,306 scientists, and just say, I don't believe in it,
Yeah.
even if you're right, you don't have enough information to say that.
Right. No,
You might be
but that's why I
correct.
said this is the whole
But you're
point.
saying you don't believe
I
it.
don't. Yeah, I would have to have someone sit down and convince me that it was real. I personally don't believe it. That's okay.
But why?
It's good to
but-
start
but
at a
here's the
place of
thing.
not believing something.
No, it's not.
You think you should start with believing everything.
No, it's not believe either or. Not believe yes, not believe no.
Yeah.
But don't say you don't believe.
Yeah.
Learn about it.
Yeah.
Learn about it and then have an opinion. But you're stating this opinion without having any real understanding of
Right.
what climate
Well,
science
yeah,
is.
but that's exactly what an opinion is. I'm not going. Like I said, if you said that, Candace, you went on to 10,000 college campuses and you said that global warming wasn't real, then we'd have a problem. You and I are just having a conversation.
Yeah, but why have an opinion on something that you don't have data about? This is
Right.
my question. Like,
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have an opinion on
Right.
climate science. I really don't,
Yeah.
because I don't know much about it. But what I do
My
know
yeah.
is that what I've read is that the vast majority of people who study it are in agreement that human beings
Yeah.
are affecting
So
it.
I don't.
At number 4, Milo Yiannopoulos has his say about the far left and their ties with paedophilia.
So it's impossible to believe those things in good faith because you have to lie to make that. You have to lie so much to yourself and to others in order to make those arguments. That it is one long practical joke, that side. It is just a gigantic
It's
piece
the
of
Onion.
satire. I'm convinced it's funded by the Koch brothers to discredit liberalism. I'm convinced.
Really?
I'm absolutely convinced.
I don't
If you
think-
trace the Salon money back far enough, you will discover the surname Koch, because it is the only explanation for how badly Salon discredits progressivism. It is the only explanation. Just today, they published another editorial from this fucking paedophile, who I wrote about, and he wouldn't even dare bring my name up because he's too scared to get into it with me because he knows he'd lose. He published this thing about how, I'm a paedophile, but I don't act on it. Right after I'd exposed a paedophile, Sarah Nyberg, in Gamergate, right, and it went all over the world, and it was this huge story that I broke.
Hold on.
Then I'm sorry, I'm
Stop.
going to start at the
Okay.
beginning. I exposed this.
You
I
exposed
have
a
a brain like this.
pedophile.
I exposed this pedophile. She was backed up, and all the social justice warriors doubled down and protected her because she was, on message. Basically, she had the right politics, so they stuck her for a
Right.
kiddie fiddler. This is the state of the modern left. Directly after that, with coincidental timing, Salon publishes this thing by a pedophile saying, "Oh, I'm a pedophile, but I don't act on it," which is precisely the defense that
Yeah.
person had used. They
And,
make
well, here's-
excuses for them, as
here's
Salon just
one-
did today. Today, they gave a space to this guy who is a paedophile, about whom there is horrific stuff online, which hasn't come out yet, which, you should watch this space for that, because I know Stephen Crowder knows about some of it, and so do I. Excuse me. You should...
This guy who wrote this
This guy wrote this article.
did he give his real
wrote
name?
a second... Yeah, under his own name. This is how
Wow.
brazen they are. Wrote a second piece for Salon today, playing the victim, saying that he came out as a paedophile and he's been subjected to right-wing hate.
So
That
he
he's been,
says
this
he's
is the
done
right-wing
nothing
machine in
wrong.
action.
That
He's saying,
this
I'm
is
a
the guy that only has
paedophile,
one hand,
I'm a
correct?
paedophile, and I think so. I'm a paedophile, and I don't act on it. And I did this piece, and everyone came out and said that it was really supportive and it was really great, and that I'd help people to get through their own experiences, and everyone was really sympathetic, except the right-wing hate machine, meaning me, although he didn't dare mention me by name.
You are the right-wing hate machine?
Well, apparently, according to him. So the right-wing hate machine had the temerity to say, we think paedophilia is wrong. And why is Salon giving a platform to this guy? From the transgender debate, the left doesn't care about that. What it cares about is who it can, where it can place people in the oppression Olympics, in the victim hierarchy. And I'm warning you now.
That is the worry that people have.
I'm warning you now.
Is that is the next thing.
Pedophiles are going to be the next. Transgender's been won now. They've won that battle. It's over.
Do you think so?
Yes.
Honestly?
Absolutely. It's done and dusted. We lost.
Well, don't you think
we
that
lost? By we, I mean people who actually wanted to find out what the science said. What I
For you?
objected to is simply telling people lies. Born this
Right.
way is a lie, and because
But isn't it a true story with some of them?
well, nobody that's holding the signs, because most of the ones holding the signs, the militant homosexuals, are the ones that chose to be gay to get at people.
Now, do gays
like I
disagree with
did.
you? Do you have debates with gay people about
yeah,
this? Or is this...
well, most gays won't debate me because they know they'll lose. Because they've got
confident.
woman brains. They're not very good at logic.
They got woman
but-
brains.
I'm just kidding. You accused me of trolling earlier, so I thought I better
Well,
live
you
up. I
certainly
thought I
do.
better live up to the
Well,
reputation.
you certainly do, and you're also very aware that your right-wing views and the
don't have any
right-wing
right-wing views. I'm
you
not
kind
conservative.
of a little bit of a right-wing bend to you. You talk about conservatives and you dress,
Actually, it bends to
you're
the
wearing a
left.
suit and tie. This
wearing a
right-wing
suit and
thing,
tie is
though,
conservative now?
like a good way to align yourself in the club is you have to espouse Christian values or talk
No,
about
no.
being Christian.
I don't give a stuff about what the conservative establishment thinks of me. If I did, my career would have turned out very differently. I would have chosen a very different path through my professional life. I was at the Telegraph, the most respectable establishment newspaper in England 8 years ago. If I'd wanted to be, a scion of the conservative Republican establishment, I could have done that. I did the exact opposite. I've stuck my nose up and my middle finger up at conservatives at every available opportunity. Poor Breitbart, who put up with so much from me. They publish black dick jokes every week from me, and that is a direct assault on the kind of stomach churn that the conservative right is always said to have about gay things. Right? I don't just tell them I'm gay. I tell them I'm sucking black dick. Right?
Yeah, but you write some
wind
really
them up.
good columns.
I
and
do,
you
and
say
they're
some
very
things that they
funny and
agree with.
entertaining, and I'm right about everything.
And
but,
it also
but
puts them in a very interesting
I am
place where
not-
they can say, look, we have a gay guy working for us.
I don't think Breitbart gives us stuff about whether people think they're homophobic or not. They certainly wouldn't hire me
Oh,
for
they certainly
tokenism.
do.
No, of course
everybody,
they don't. They don't
everybody
care.
does.
Trust me.
Okay.
Breitbart doesn't care. Breitbart doesn't care if you think they're homophobic. They're not, but they don't care if you do.
Right.
What they care about is the facts of what they publish, and the facts of what they publish should.
But this
most
whole
of the time
picture
I
that we're
see
painting here is
exactly
so
right.
strange. Is someone who believes but doesn't practice. You believe in religion, but you don't practice any of the things that religion espouses, especially the
I
sexual
wouldn't say
stuff.
any of the things.
But what
But
the
it
Catholic
sounds
Church
very
bought out the
interesting.
book. You can buy it now, but it's like now it got republished a few years ago by this guy named Jan Irvin, and so you can get a hold of it now. But for the longest time, you used to have to buy it as a used book.
Well, I will look it up.
Yeah, there's one also, the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Christian Myth. He wrote a second one after the Catholic Church bought out the first one and stopped the production of it and bought out all the books. That's your people, Catholics, trying to hide that information.
We're
So-
great at PR.
The last thing they want. I went to Catholic school, man, for a whole year. Cured
Yeah.
me.
Well,
Fixed me up good.
That's where you get your fine sense of right and wrong from. No, wait, let's not do that.
Well, right and wrong as far as what is
anyone try
right
and touch
and
you?
what
They
is
try and fiddle
wrong.
with you?
No, I got lucky. They beat me a little
What do
bit.
you mean you got
smacked
lucky?
me a
You
little
got
bit.
unlucky. You didn't get that taste of... no, I said, just like I said earlier, if it weren't for Father Michael, I would have given far less good head. I mean, I
There was a
would
real
have
Father
earned
Michael?
So much less... he's going to get killed now, but...
Who was Father Michael?
I'm not... No, I bet...
Was a real dude?
I shouldn't-
Maybe suck his dick? For real?
Don't make me. I was quite enthusiastic about it. I fucked my English teacher too. But I
How
probably
old
shouldn't
was
say
he
that
at the
either.
time?
I don't know. He's quite young, quite hot.
Really?
Yeah.
And so that's where it all started with Father Michael?
No.
Was that post the tranny?
Yeah, it was post. So I
thing?
wasn't
Drag
abused
queen?
as a child or anything like that.
So
It was quite a
you already had the fivesome, and you're like, this is all wrong. I need to talk to Father Michael. He's like, suck my dick and shut the fuck up. And you're like, religion is awesome.
You see, I really had no hope, did I? I was never going to end well.
Well, it seems like you kept stumbling into dicks.
Our fifth clip sees Adam Conover discussing trans athletes competing in female sports, while Joe shares his real opinions on the matter.
As far as trans athletes go, you know, we could sit here and talk for 3 hours about like all the different ways that hormones might affect your body and might not affect your body. And I'm not an expert on that, and I don't want to claim to be, right? But a sports with trans athletes who are, competing with with their gender, right? That is a sporting world that I'm more interested in, right? And I think we should find a way to make that happen. I know it's going to be really complicated and messy, right? And there's going to be a lot of debate about it, and it's going to be uncomfortable, and there's going to be a lot of arguments. But I hope that that's the world that we move forward to. That's my point of view.
My point of view is that there's a distinction. There's a reason why we make the distinction to have male athletics versus female athletics. The reason is that males have a physiological advantage over women. So in most sports, most physical sports, we do not have males compete with females. The question becomes when someone who is male transitions and becomes female, do those same physiological advantages apply? And what is the evidence? Well, the evidence in competition seems to be that it shows that it does apply, particularly in weightlifting, rugby, mountain biking, power heavy sports that favor larger people, stronger bodies. Males that transition to females have a significant advantage in their breaking world records. So if you're a woman and you're a natural woman and you don't take any extra hormones or male hormones, you're not taking steroids or any sort of performance-enhancing drugs, you're doing your very best to compete and you're at the top of the heap. But then someone comes along that was a man for 30 years and decides that they're going to be a woman, and this has happened, and literally transitioned a few months ago and competes as a woman and destroys records and dominates you in that sport. That's bullshit. And that's not competing on a level playing field. That's a person who's biologically a male and who is a male for 30 plus years of having testosterone run through their body and affect their tendon strength and affect the shape of their bones and the mechanical advantages of the male hips versus the female hips. And then they're competing with smaller people who have been a woman their whole life. It's not fair. It's as much cheating as taking steroids when the other person doesn't, or taking performance-enhancing drugs when the other person doesn't. Maybe even more so. Maybe even more so because you also have there's a bunch of advantages in terms of reaction time that males enjoy. It's some significant difference in reaction time between males and even untrained males versus female professional athletes.
That is a type of person that exists, right? I think over the next certainly 30 years, we're going to see, now that people are starting to understand that being trans is just a way that people are, right? They're just people who are trans, and this is something that we're going to accept and support, right? You're seeing folks transition much, much earlier age,
Well, but then
and so if someone is transitioning from the age of 7 years old, right, working with those hormones, from that age, right, they're not going to have their body situation is going to be very different than the one that you postulated, right. I also know from my trans friends that the effects that the hormones have on your body are really profound, really, really profound. We're not to a surprising degree, right? And so, if the question is how does a person who starts taking hormones at a particular age, right? How does their body change, and how does that affect vis-a-vis athletic performance? I don't know. We're in such new territory here, right?
Yeah, well, we certainly are, and we just scratched upon the idea of kids transitioning at a very early age. I mean, there's been more scientific evidence that points that if kids don't do that, then when they wanted to be trans at an early age, they just become gay men, and that there's nothing wrong with that either. There's no reason to give kids hormones, and there's no reason to decide before a person's frontal lobe is completely fully developed, which doesn't even take place till 25. People don't know who they are. A 7-year-old, you won't even. People don't even give their 7-year-old phones. You don't let them vote. You're going to let them decide what sex they're going to be for the rest of their life.
The research that I've seen, and again, I'm not an expert on this, and you know, I'd love to. This is a conversation. This is something I'd love to talk about on our show, and I'd specifically love, you know, this is the kind of topic where I really want to make sure that I know the research and that I'm, you know, also speaking to trans folks, you know, in this conversation. But so to touch on just what I've, you know, my own experience and the research I've seen. The research I've seen is that trans kids from a young age, they are incredibly consistent in when they're expressing their gender identity.
And for our bonus video featuring Michaela Peterson, daughter of Jordan Peterson, covering lazy people. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content and want to see future updates.
It looks like grains aren't so good for people. Combining that and grains, it's no wonder people are ill.
Some people. Yeah.
Some people. Most people, though. If you look at like obesity or...
I wouldn't go most. I would say some. I'd say most people are sedentary. That's one of the primary issues.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the issue.
What do you mean?
I mean, okay, I guess I'm not a great example, but I mean, people start gaining weight if they're lucky when they're middle-aged, if they're unlucky when they're around 25 and they start gaining weight. I don't think it's from lack of exercise. I think it's from diet.
I think diet has a lot to do with it. Yeah, for sure. But it's also lack of exercise.
I don't know. I'm not convinced because people who've gone onto this carnivore diet especially lose that weight.
Right, but there's a lot of people out there that are not overweight that don't follow the carnivore diet. So how do you explain that?
Well, I'd like to see anybody above the age of 50 who's on a standard
people.
American diet.
Michael Phelps, that Olympic swimmer.
Yeah.
That guy eats like 10,000 calories a day and several pizzas. Look at him.
I know. I
Thin
read
as a
about
rail.
him.
He's fucking jacked. There's no problems at all. He's not fat. But that's an issue of enormous expenditure of energy. I mean, he's constantly exercising, and his body has ridiculous calorie requirements.
Yeah.
Caloric. So, I mean, it's hard to say, but I think sedentary lifestyle is a giant part of it.
But
most of what people do is what we're doing right now. Most of what people do is sit down.
But is that because they don't feel like running around? Because some people, like people who exercise, generally you have to put in a little bit of effort to make yourself go exercise. But a lot of people who are overweight and sick don't have enough energy to do that.
I don't know about that. Some of them maybe, but I think some of them just don't have discipline. There's an issue with that as well. There's also an issue with momentum. You're not used to doing it. It's not a part of your life. It's not something that you're accustomed to, pushing yourself. There's been many days where I didn't want to work out. I just didn't feel like I had the energy, and I just forced myself. And I think there's very few people out there that know how to force themselves. That's a learned skill. It's that kind of discipline and focus. You have to have like real rigid requirements of yourself where you don't allow yourself to back out of things and you don't allow yourself to slack off. And I don't think people put those kind of requirements on themselves as if it's it is a daily principle of life, like what you must get done. You know, you must brush your teeth, you must exercise for 45 minutes. And if you did that, I think you'd be healthier and happier, and your body would perform more smoothly. And if you require your body to do things like that, I think it rises to the occasion. There are very few people that have that kind of discipline. So because of that, they come up with excuses. And excuses are a giant part of the problem. It's not simply a physical health issue. There's also mental aspects of it, and discipline's a big one. I just know way too many people who are weak mentally. And I can't just chalk it off to only, you know, their physical, the way they physically feel, because I felt like shit 100 times, and then I worked out, and then I felt way better. Yeah, it's just a fact of life. That's real. You know, you just gotta. And people don't know how to do that. And it's not. And if you're used to doing this, get in your car, sit down, drive to the office, sit down, go to the lunch, sit down. You know, go to the board meeting, sit down. Get in your car on the way home, sit down. Get home in front of the TV, sit down. Then go to the gym, fuck off. They don't have any energy. You know, their body's not, their body's like, I don't have it in me to do this. And I don't believe that. I think it's a lot of it is the mindset.
So I partly agree with that, but because, and I know I was a very sick individual.
You're in a different case. You have real, legitimate, diagnosed physical issues.